everyone, and welcome to a new session with Code with Sally. The session run every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. My apologies for last week. I was sick, so I had to cancel the session. If anyone is missing previous sessions or didn't make it to the live session, you'll find on Code with Sally YouTube channel. Two playlists, one for English and one for Arabic. For the English, it will have all the recordings for the sessions, so you can go back and watch what you have missed. And you can ping me on Slack or LinkedIn, ask you questions. I will do my best to support you as soon as I can. Today is a new start for a new topic. It may be like familiar to most of developers, and because we have been using it for a while. I'm just covering in terms of basics and exploring or expanding more on how to do things using SOQL. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Today, we'll do as much as we can to cover as much as we can of the topics or the things I want to cover for SOQL. And SOSL will be our next topic as well to talk about. If anyone has any questions, I will keep an eye on the chat. And also you can just ask your questions while I'm explaining and I will answer you. And if you're watching the session offline, you can ping me on Slack or LinkedIn. Okay, so we want to start to understand what is SOQL and what is SOSL. A lot of people already using SOQL, but not everyone is using SOSL on like regular basis, and sometimes we are not as familiar with it and what's the difference between it and between SOQL and when to use each. So we will start with the SOQL. So the SOQL, from the abbreviation, it's Salesforce Object Query Language. And we saw last time when we were talking about the S objects, we said like when we create an account or a contact or we retrieve them in a list of S objects. So it's the Salesforce objects. So this is the language. It's similar to SQL if someone else is using other like database or connected to other database and wrote SQL in the past. It's similar, but it's like directed and it's related mainly to Salesforce. So it works on the Salesforce objects. It's the purpose of it is to retrieve records based on the criteria or the fields that you want to get back. The SOSL, it's mainly the abbreviation for it, it's Salesforce Object Search Language. So that's the main difference. It's a search language versus being a query language. What that means that when we are using SOQL, we want to select certain fields and we know from which object, and then maybe we do our filtering that we know what we want to do. With the search, it's more like when you open, let me open here Salesforce, and I would say here I want to search ACME, for example. It may return for me that I have a contact that has ACME text, and I return an account as well. So here, this also does the same idea or the same concept. It's search language. We define what we are searching for and what do we want to return. And it can return accounts, contacts. It can return multiple objects as well, and tell you I found ACME in account, and that's the result, and what I found in contact with ACME as well. So that's the main difference. It's a search-based language. It's used mainly for searching, and it performs full text search across multiple Salesforce objects. So as the global search we tried now, it searched across multiple objects and return account and contact. If we have another custom object, it could return it if it had ACME. So it's the same idea. It's searching all over the place in multiple Salesforce objects, not a single one. So when to use each, this is just an intro. I love to just put the difference between the two up front now, but we'll learn about both of them separate in depth, and we'll revisit again at the end after learning about the syntax for the SOQL and the syntax of SOSL and when to use each, we'll do another comparison to summarize and make sure that we know when to use SOQL versus SOSL. So the SOQL, as we said, like it's for query and for retrieving certain records from certain objects. So when you want to target to retrieve, for example, the account name or the contact first name and last name. So I know that I want to do a SOQL on the contact to return the first and last name. So it's when I have targeted queries to return specific fields from specific object. This also, it's more like generic. I don't know what I'm looking for, the keyword I'm looking for, where I will find it. I want to search multiple objects, different fields. I don't know if what I'm looking for will be in the name or the email. So it's a global search or more like a more variety or broader search across multiple objects. So I'm searching for a keyword across multiple objects in different fields. So that's the main difference between the two. Any questions so far about the difference between the two or the explanation of what is SOQL versus SOSL so far? I'm checking the chat. Okay, we are good. The second thing I want to do before diving in, like I know I said today we'll be starting and targeting to work with SOQL, but before doing that, I want to lay out, like give you an idea, what are the tools that are available? Because even if you are learning Salesforce, watching other YouTube, reading some articles, you will find that there is multiple tools and it's more preference which tool you want to stick to and start using on daily basis. So the first one is the developer console. So if I go to developer console, we know that we have been using it for long, but if you go to your org from the gear here, you will open the developer console. This is where you have here the query editor at the bottom here. Let me close everything. Close all tab. And I will write my SOQL here. I will write that, and we'll learn more about the syntax and how to write it. But here, it's a simple query where I want to return from the account, the name, the industry, the annual revenue from the account. And I want just to return where the annual revenue is greater than this number. So you will write your query here, and you will hit execute. You will find the results showing up here. So that one way of running the SOQL in developer console. What about the SOQL search? I can get another like example for the SOQL, and we'll dig deeper into the syntax as well when we go to the section where we'll discuss this also. But here, simply I'm saying it's a different syntax. So I will say I want to find the word edge in all the fields. I don't know where it will be. I'm not specifying any fields. And I want to return when it's found in account, the account ID and name, and for the contact ID, first name and last name. So it's a search, more generic. I'm not specifying that I want to return something. Again, you can write your SOQL query here, and we'll learn more about the syntax when we cover the SOQL. But you will find that the results, when we did the account, the result is account. It shows us how many results we have, and it was showing to us the columns that we chose to return. With the SOQL, you'll find here it has like two subtabs because I want to return account and contact if the word edge is found. So for the account, it found only one account that contained in the name the word edge. And I found 3 contacts, and most probably those, I believe, were in the email. So let me include the email. You will find here it has edge in 2 of them in the email. I don't know the third one, which field it has it, because we are returning all fields. But it found the word edge in 1 account and 3 contacts. Sorry. So that's one tool. If you like to use it, this won't be the main one that I'll be using when I'm explaining our syntax or moving forward, but it's good to know that you have it in the developer console. So that's one way you can run SOQL or SOSL using them. The second one is a tool used called Workbench. It had the link for it. Let me put it in the chat. And I put it in Slack as well. Okay, so here, this is the link. Let me put it from the beginning here. And then I will say, if you are connected to Sandbox, you'll choose Sandbox. Like developer org, so it's like a production. And usually because I'm already logged in, it didn't ask me to log in. But here in the menu, this tool has more to offer. But what we care about now is where to go to run a SOQL statement or a SOSL statement. So you will go to queries. You'll find here in the menu one for SOQL query and one for SOSL search. So for the SOQL query, you can choose here. It's like the developer console, we didn't have any autocomplete or something to choose from. You have to type it. Here you can say, I want to search in the account and I want to return name of the account. And so it adds it for you here. And I want to, if you want to type as well, you can type, I want to do industry, and you do from the account. And then you can say, I want, how I want to search, to sort it or filter. So it helps beginners a little bit. If you don't know the syntax of the SOQL, it gives you some help that you want to search. You want to sort with the name. You want it to be A to Z first or Z to A, like ascending or descending order. And the filter, if you want to add a filter, and it keeps, when you choose something, it keeps adding for you the result here. When you do the query, you get the results here in the table below. So you have name. If I add, for example, annual revenue, so it will add all the columns for you, and it will show all the results here. Again, it's a preference. If you want to use it, you can. Here, I view it as a list. You can like export it as a CSV. So it gives you a bit more than what the developer costs. But it's like Salesforce is encouraging everyone now to use the SOQL Builder in the Visual Studio Code instead. So a lot of people are getting away from it, but it's a tool. Good to know that it's there. For the SOSL search, you go for queries and you click SOSL search here. And if you have your like SOSL search query, you can paste it, or again, you can use the search for the word, and like I can do here edge, and I say all fields or the name fields or phone fields or email. So I did all. And what do you want to return? So I want to return account, and what do you want to show, and what do you want as well, which object again. So I put back the query. So I give you an interface to write your SOSL or SOQL by choosing and filling some criteria or feature at the top, and it fills or like built for you the query here, whether it's SOQL or SOSL for you. Again, it shows to me here two sections, one for the account and one for the contact. So it gives you what are the accounts that we found, what are the contacts we found, and the fields that we wanted to include for each are returned. So this is the second tool. And again, this won't be the one that I'll be using in the session, but I wanted you to know that it exists. Some like online resources are referring to it. Some people prefer it because of the UI it gives for you to use to build your queries. So it's really up to you how to use it. And if you want to play more with it, you can. And again, there is more tools that this offer, but the focus here is for SOQL and SOSL queries. Any questions so far? Okay, the chat, no questions there. The third tool is the Salesforce Inspector Reloaded. This is a Chrome add-on that I have downloaded. And when you download it and you install it, you will find here an arrow that appears for you. You can do a data export. It has more to offer as well, but what we care about to go to the same is data export. So the data export here will give you an export query here, like to write your query. You can have a query history to see what are the queries you tried before. You can save a query and so on. I didn't use the template myself, but it seems like you can have a template for the SOSL. So if you don't want to memorize that, you want to how to write it, so it gives you a template and you start filling the details for it. But for the SOQL, you'll be writing here select, for example, ID from name, from account. So it has like when you are typing, it shows to you some suggestions what you can use. So for ACC, there is account change event, account contact role, account feed. So it helps you if you don't memorize the whole API name for the object, it helps you with the suggestions to choose. So you do here, and for the fields to return as well, you can have here autocomplete, industry, or annual. So I don't memorize this, like the syntax or the field name. So I started with it gave me the rest. And you can run the export. You can copy it to an Excel, you can copy it to CSV, you can download it. So it has a lot to offer and a lot of nice feature. I like it because it's easy to use because of the autocomplete and the suggestions that it gives you. Again, that's for the SOQL. For the SOSL, it will do the same for you, whether you will start with a template or you have it and you put it here. When you do the export, it will show to you, for example, here, the account. Some people may not like this interface because it shows like the account and contacts all together, but it gives you here, those are the accounts, those are the contacts. So you can see them in one view. And it will return the fields. Like if I add here for the contact, the email, it will be added as well. So for the email here, for the contact, it was added. So it gives you the possibility to run SOQL and SOSL as well. And that's mainly the tool that I'll be using in the live session while we are explaining the syntax and how to write SOQL or SOSL. This is mainly the one that I'll be using. The last one is Visual Studio Code. So let me open it here. Visual Studio Code, I used it for SOQL only. So to do SOQL or to run SOQL here, you open the command palette and you can write here SOQL. It will give you two options. One is execute SOQL query and one to create query in SOQL Builder. And that's the one that the Workbench was suggesting to go and start using. So for execute SOQL query, you can write your query here, select ID and name from account. And I will hit enter and I will say use REST API to do it. And it will return the values for me here. What is the account IDs and names that it got returned. So that's one way to do it. The other one is if I do here SOQL, it will give me the query builder. So it's similar to what the Workbench kind of give you. So you can say here, I want to select from account. I want to select all the fields, or I want to have name, and I want to have annual revenue and maybe industry too. So you can select, and then you can choose the filters if you want to limit, if you want to order by, and it builds the query for you here on the right. So you can see it while you are choosing the options, how this will be formed. So it's a good way as well when you are learning at the beginning the syntax for it. If I run the query here, it will return the values here on the right. What is the name of the accounts, the annual revenue, and the industry for each of them. And it has like pagination here. You can see multiple pages. You can go to the first, last, and you can download it as a CSV or JSON. So there is no right or wrong or which tool best to use. It's more what's your preference and what you want to use on a daily basis. Or it's good, I would say there is no right or wrong, or you have to pick and choose which tool you will have to use every day. It's good to know that it's available for you in different places and different spots. And at the time of like and when you need to write a query or a SOQL query, you can decide where are you working, which one you feel like more comfortable to use, and you can go ahead and use. So for us, it's not the developer console, sorry for that, but we'll be mainly using the Salesforce Inspector Reloaded plugin in our like sessions moving forward whenever I want to demonstrate how to use a SOQL or like write the SOQL syntax. Any questions so far? So if like I'm on Mac, so if I go to the developer console, if I do Command Shift P, so that will open the command palette for me. And then I write here the SOQL as a word. So it shows to me what are the commands available for me in the SOQL. So I don't know if you tried Command Shift P if you are on Mac and you didn't see it yet by writing SOQL. It supports SFDX like projects, I believe, only. So I'm not sure which. Okay, you got. Okay, yeah. So the command palette and Command Shift P. I think it will be Control Shift P and on Windows, and write SOQL. It will give you the two options. So this is another way to do it. For me, I would be focused on the Salesforce Inspector Reloaded, but feel free to play around with the four tools, open them, try to use one, and then go to the other one and try to write the same SOQL, get the sense of which tool you prefer and which one is easier for you. And especially for someone who's starting Salesforce or starting to write queries, it's nice and it's very essential to be comfortable at the beginning where to do it to make it easier for you to learn the syntax and get used to it. Okay, so that covers what are the tools, what's the difference between SOQL and SOSL. The next will be talking about SOQL syntax. And we'll start small and we'll start expanding after that. So SOQL, we'll start with the basic structure for it and what is really required, and you cannot run a SOQL statement without having it. And those are the select and the from. So the select, if I go here, select is a keyword, you have to have it, and from is another keyword you have to have it. So for the select, I have to specify which fields I want to return, and from is usually the objects you want to get these fields from and you want to return. So let's say here, contact. And again, as I said, like when you are typing, it will give you suggestions to autocomplete. So here I'm selecting ID and contact and ID from contact. I can, for example, add, I want to return the first name. I can, comma, last name from contact. And if I run the query, it will return ID, the first name, and last name. So that's the minimum. Like if I try as well to remove the ID, we'll see it in the, I will show it to you in the Apex. But here, that's the minimum. Like if I try to remove the part of the from and try to run the query, it will tell me that it's unexpected end of file because they are expecting to tell the SOQL where they are selecting the fields from. Or if I didn't add any fields here, it will complain because it needs to know which fields we want to return. So I have, those are the two minimum and must have parts of the SOQL statement. The select which fields from which object. Okay, and it just quick reminder for anyone who missed the sessions, when we run it in here in the developer console or in the extension here in Chrome, we return in, like, we see the table, we see the values, and we are good. Let's say I want in Salesforce, we said, as a reminder, we are returning as objects. So it's a list of contact. And I would say here contact. And I will return the contacts that we have here. And I will print it. System.debug. And I will print here contacts and list of contacts. So any SOQL we run without aggregation, it will return always a list of S object. And we'll learn more about the aggregation and how it's different when we come to that point. But when I execute here, you'll find that you will return a list. Each contact has ID, first name, last name, because those are the fields that we specify. The thing that I wanted to mention, and it wasn't clear in the extension, if you remove the ID, it will be still available for you. Like you don't need to select the ID. If you select first name and last name, here I had selected ID, first name and last name, and each contact had ID, first name and last name. But now, if I remove the ID and return just first name and last name, it will include for me as well the ID. So first name, last name, and ID for each contact, it will be there. So it will be always returned for you. You don't need to add it as one of the fields you are selecting. So that's just something quick I wanted to show you. So again, that was the minimum structure that you need to have. It's required. Anything else, like when we talk about expanding the syntax and what we can do with the SOQL, will be optional. It's up to you to decide whether you want it or you don't want to add. But the minimum is selecting certain fields and specifying which object we are returning it from. So let me do not disturb. Okay, so that's the basic. Any questions so far? The chat is good. Okay. Next, we'll expand a little bit more. So the next is we want to filter. So now, for example, when I did, let me close this one as well. And I go here. So when I did the contacts, I got 53 records. And that's because it's a developer org. I don't have much records. But in big orgs, big environments, it's usually not recommended to have a SOQL statement that will return all the records of an object because you may hit the limit and it may return way more than what you need and what you want to look. So the where clause is the thing that we want to use to limit and filter what we are returning. So that's the importance of the where clause. So the where clause is used to filter the records. So for example, here, I want to get, let's see here. I have a lot of contacts that end, the last name is Smith. So I want to get only all the contacts with Smith as the last name. So I can add here where, and I would say here last name equals Smith. So I will return all the context that has Smith. So instead of 53 records, we got 23. So you can use it to filter the results of the query and minimize the data set that is returned. Here I used the equality, and we saw before when we were writing if statements, the operator for equality, and it was equal equal. In the SOQL, it's just one equal. And for strings, they has to be in single quotes. So that's why I put Smith in single quotes. Okay, so that's, I'm getting exactly the context with the last name that is equal Smith. What about, let me here run it without the query. I want to get all the names that starts with J. How can I do? So I want to return Jack or John or Josh Edge or Jane. So I want to return only the context that starts with that letter. Any suggestions how to do it? I'm checking the chat here. Anyone able to or like wrote it before? Let me do it for you now. So here, when we'll do the where, you know, that we will return like we are filtering. So where, and I will say here, first name, I don't want an exact match, so I cannot use equal anymore. I'll do like. So like is more to say that I want to return something like that, similar to something. So I would say here that I wanted to start with J, and then I will do like that, percentage. That means I don't care what comes next, but I care about just the first letter to be exactly that letter. So if I run the export now, I have Jack, John, Josh, Jane. I got only 11 records, so that minimized from 53 records of context to only 11. So I minimized the data that is returned, and I got the ones that I care only about. What if I want to get any that start with J and O? So in that case, you come here and say, I want Joe as the beginning, and I don't care about the rest. So I will do like that. Got me, I have 4 records that start with JO, and those are the contexts that match my criteria. Also, it doesn't have to be that the percentage is at the end. So for example, we had one that has something and it had the word edge. I can say the beginning doesn't matter, and then it has to end with edge. So I got Josh Edge because that was a test that I wanted to do. I can say I wanted to end with SH. I don't know if we have. In that case, it gave me, I don't have anything. I know we have Jane, so it ends with NE, for example. It got me Jane Gray, Jane Smith, Jane Doe. So it's just whenever you know a piece of the text you want, but you're not sure what comes first or end when, and it can be start when whatever it has an N and end with whatever. Like I want something that has an N, so it got me Enzy because it has an N in the middle. Lauren. So it doesn't matter. Like I have N in the name. So the percentage is just like anything. So that's another operator that you can use instead of equal. You can use as well greater than or less than. So for example, if I have here select name, amount, stage name, for example, from opportunity, where I want to return all the opportunities that has amount greater than 10,000, for example. Here, select, okay, I wrote it wrong here. And I would run the execute. So I got here 31 records. Let's say I increase this number I got no records at all. If I minimize it, I got 16. So it depends on the amount. Like it gets me the ones that the amount is greater than the number I put here. So that's sometimes another way to minimize the number of records you're getting as well. Also, we saw in when we work with the if statements and conditional statements, we saw the and the or and how we can use them to have more complicated like conditions. The same we can do here. So I can do, for example, select, and I select from account. And again, I wrote this wrong. I select here, for example, we can get the name, industry, billing state, industry, billing state, for example. And I can, for example, I want to get here, this one I didn't select it. Okay. I don't want to get all the accounts. So for example, I have 64. I care only about the ones where industry, sorry, equal technology, or I want anything that the industry is either biotechnology or technology. So if I run now, I got only 3 records because I have the or. I can have, for example, I want the ones that has industry, biotechnology, and I care that the billing state in Canada, for example. So I can do that. So that means here, the bracket, that means it's or, like it's the industry technology, or this whole thing is matched. And the whole thing between brackets is saying that I want the industry to be biotechnology and state the CA. So for example, if I do, sorry, state, it's not a country. So CA. If I do US or if I do LA or I do any other state, like it removed because the biotechnology was CA. So it has to match, like in that case, it will return only the biotechnology if the billing state is CA. Then here, I don't care about the billing state. I want to return all the technology. So it's again, different combination of how you can filter. You can use and or and combine different filters, different conditions. Definitely, you don't want your conditions to be too complicated or too complex or a lot of nested conditions because you don't want your query to take long to execute. You want it to be as simple as possible, but at the same time effective as much as you can, or to match what you are looking for. So you need to know that it exists, the or and you can combine them. You can do the brackets to have the conditions as we did here, but be careful with whatever you choose you do. The other thing that we want to see, there is some date functions that are useful usually when you do when you do SOQL statements. So for example, I want to I would want to return all the contacts, the accounts that got created today, that I created today. So from account, where created date equal, and I will write TO here. See, it would give me some functions like today, tomorrow, end days, this quarter, next quarter. So it's useful to be there because it will be harder for you to put the date in the format without having these functions. It makes it easier for you. So here, if I execute this, it will return me that I have only one account that got created today. It's useful. Sometimes you want to, for example, see the records that got created today and fix something in them. Someone did a mistake. You want to correct it for all the accounts created today. So sometimes you need to find those. Also, some of the functions. So we saw like the quality greater or smaller like we tried it, and or the date functions. There is also like we saw here, like today, there is tomorrow. So those functions, we tried it. There is two as well that are useful when we run the queries, is the last n days and the next n days. So the last n days, we filter records, for example, created within the last 30 days. I want the records that got created within the last 60 days, or I want to figure out what are the opportunities that are closing in 10 days, something in the future. So next n days, that's in the future. Last n days, that's in the past. So let's see an example for those. I will take it here to make it faster. So here I'm querying from the account, name, custom created date. I loaded some data to be able to show you. So I created a field custom created date to fit like the dates, the values that I want. So I'm getting for you all the records that the custom created date is less than 30 days. So it's earlier than 30 days from the current date. So let me execute it. And that here will return, for example, this one way more than 30 days from today. And all the records here return mapping or matching the criteria I put. The next n days, that's in the future. Let me get you an example here and show it to you. So here I have as well added another field called future date to put dates in the future. So I'm saying like, get me any record that the future date is greater than 30 days from now. So that will return for me 14 of November. So today is 10 of October, 29 of November as well. So if I return here, make it like it's bigger than 10 days. So it returned for me 26th of October, for example, or 31st of October, because those are bigger than 10 days in the future. So the last n day is something in the past, the next n days is something in the future. And we saw like we have this month, it will act that like today, this year, last month. So you want all the opportunities that closed this year. You can get it from the query using this year instead of specifying the first day of the year and last day of the year. It's easier to do that. So those are all functions to help you reach like filtering your records easier and faster, and to get the records that you really care about and you want to work with. So this is the next step. Like you don't just rely and get all the records. You are filtering and playing with the filters. And I encourage you, like, try to load some data in your org and try different scenarios and add like different queries and see how it works. Any questions so far? Okay, there is no questions in the chat. We got summed up, so we are good. The next stage that we want to talk about is there is some reserved characters in SOQL, and when we want to use it to do anything in our query, we have to escape them. What are the reserved characters? We have the single quotes reserved characters, because we saw, for example, when we did here, for example, the technology and biotechnology. I have here single quotes. This is to like start and end the string. So it's reserved character. And also the backslash is reserved because the backslash is the character we use to escape. So for example, if I have here an account, I have, for example, some records. For example, this one has in the text as a name, ACME \supplies. Or I have here Orly's book with the single quotes. So if I want to search for those exact words and I want to find them including the backslash or single quotes, I have to escape them. So how we can do that? Let's try. I will do it here for you. So I wrote here ACME, and we are supposed to find like backslash, and I don't care about the rest. If I try to do that, it will not return anything. And what we need to do is that I want to escape the backslash. What it did, it assumed that I want to escape the percentage. So it was looking for any text that has ACME percentage, for example. And let me add a quick account for you so you can see it, that it will return. Let's open here. And I will develop also and let me open an account here. I will create one quickly and I'll give it a name ACME percentage. And I will say here industry apparel and I will save it. Let me go back here. You'll find that it just got the one that I got created now. Because that's what it assumed, that it assumed that escaping the percentage, because it's percentage is used with the like, so it's reserved word or reserved character when we are working with like. So it assumed that I escaped it, but actually I was looking to escape the backslash, so I have to do backslash. So to escape the backslash, you add the backslash before it. When we wanted to escape the percentage, we added a backslash before it. So here, if I do that, now it got me ACME backslash supplies. So it got me the account that I was looking for. The same, if I want to get the one that had, it had Orly, I believe it was like that. Or Orly's book, something like that. So what we'll do is that we'll do like, and I will do here. Here, Orly's books. So what we did is that I want to escape the single quote, so I put a backslash before it. And the other single quote here in the name, I want to escape it, so I put a backslash here. If I search now, it will give me the account that I'm looking for. And if you try to remove the backslash and you don't escape it, and you try to search, it will tell you that it's not formed well, because it assumed that you are looking for something that is like O, and that's it. So that's why it's important when you have a reserved character and you are using a new query to escape it with the backslash before it. So that's the thing, how you can escape the single quote, the backslash, we tried it. And in some cases, as we saw with the percentage, like it's not always the percentage is assumed to be a reserved keyword, because if you use equal, the percentage is not a reserved keyword with it. It will be a reserved keyword when you have like, because you're using like. The other one that we didn't see is using the underscore, and that's used in like to match one character. So for example, if I had a lot of accounts that ended with this format. Let me put it for you. I put here that I want anything that ends with Tech Corp, Thursday, and one character. So here what it did, it searched like that we have Tech Corp here as one character and it matched with this one, but it ends with a single digit or single character. So it got me Corp Thursday 1, 2, 3, and 9. if I do here, for example, underscore underscore, so it ends with 2 digits. So in that case, it will return the 10 because that's the only name that it found that has 2 digits at the end. And another way as well is underscore. So I want 1 digit, then it doesn't matter what come next. In that case, you will see here, we got 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, and we got the 1 in space testing. So that helps with like what you want to do. The underscore is used to match one character, any character. The percentage is used to like any number of characters, it doesn't matter. So that's very important. If you want to use the underscore not as a matching, but as, for example, specifically you are looking for the underscore. So like this, for example, I could do like that because I want to match the underscore as character in the name. I don't want to have like Corp to Thursday. Like, let me create one so it's clear for you. If I go to accounts and I create here Corp 2, for example, and I do here annual revenue 200, industry, chemicals, and I would save. If I go again and I do here remove this, I will return Corp 2 with me because what happened here when this is used in the string for me, it behaved because I have like that I want to match any character. So the 2 or underscore is a character, so it doesn't matter. So if I want to look for the underscore specifically, I would do backslash. So backslash, that means it didn't get the one that had Corp 2 because the 2 is not the backslash. So it's very important to keep in mind and test always your query. That's why choose the like the tool that you prefer, because I always encourage everyone to test your SOQL before writing in Apex and returning the record and start using them. Test it in SOQL anyway, like the developer console, the here the extension we are using, whatever makes you comfortable to make sure it's behaving the way you want. And it's very important to keep in mind the escaping, how to escape reserved characters, because the way, if you don't escape it, it will behave in a way that you are not hoping for it to behave, and it will return records that you don't want. Like without escaping, we got, for example, Corp2. I don't want this. I want to escape it, and I don't want it to be used for matching. So I have to do the backslash. In that case, it's not used for matching. It's searching for the exact. Any questions? In the chat, I think we are good. Okay, so I know SOQL and like seems to be simple, and we should finishing SOQL and SOSL in one session. Again, I don't like to rush things. I take my time. I try different scenarios with you, show you different ways to do things. I enjoy doing that. I hope you are enjoying it too. If you think we are going too slow and you want to skip some examples, let me know. But I prefer to go that way so we can cover multiple scenarios, because even for myself, when preparing such scenarios, I learn new things on the go as well. Next time, we'll continue the SOQL and we'll learn more about what else we can do, because we saw the basics where we can select what are the object we're selecting from, the where. We saw how we can do filtering, different ways, different operators, the date functions, and we saw as well how to be careful with the reserved characters. Next time, we'll continue with the SOQL. We'll learn more about how we can order our results, how we limit it, and other topics related to SOQL will be discussed as well. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll finish SOQL next time, or maybe it will extend to another session. We'll see how it goes based on the examples and the things we want to cover. I hope it was useful, and I hope you learned something new with me today. I will see you next week. on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll continue our journey with SOQL. But I encourage you to play with the 4 tools we discussed, discover which one you prefer, and have some hands-on with the where clause and the filtering and the reserved characters. Play with them so it's more clear. If you have any questions or you have any suggestions, send me a message on LinkedIn or Slack, and I would be happy to help you as much as I can whenever I get the chance to do that. Again, thank you so much for being here with me today, or for watching the session if you are watching it offline, and I will see you next week. Have a good weekend.